Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of CONVOS at Home. Wow, may applause.
Of course. I always applaud you naman.
Wow, thanks. My name is Bea Benedicto. Of course, you guys can call me Bea B.
Hi, and my name is Jech. You can just call me JT. Pinaninindig ako na. Pinaninindig ako na. Oh, diba? Matawa sila lahat dito.
Ayan, you're back with your favorite online couple. Yes, pininindigan pa rin namin yan. And it's been, it's still March. A couple more days before March ends. But we are still here appreciating the power of women. Kita mo yung bicep ko, babe.
Babe, kahit anong month. Kahit hindi Women's Month, na-appreciate kita.
Ayan, me and my biceps. Yan. Yes, very good.
But there you go. It's still Women's Month, and we're going to be graced today with the presence of another notable female personality making waves in the media industry.
Kailangan may paganon. The internet is still on a high about women breaking glass ceilings. Ayan, madami tayong hand actions ngayon for all of our YouTube viewers.
And speaking of, breaking glass ceilings, let's go to our first segment, Talk of the Tweeps. Right? And our first tweet comes from Mr. Brian Rowe. And he says, "And tonight we freaking broke that glass ceiling. I kung fu'd it out and shattered it. Michelle Yeoh is a treasure."
She truly is. Eto guys, kung di nyo pa napapanood ang Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, it is an amazing movie. So beautiful. My mind was blown.
Pero hindi ko umiyak eh.
Umiyak ako, slight.
Which, you can't spoil it.
No
I was gonna say which part, right?
Oh.
But like, it was crazy. Some parts were like parang sensory overload.
A little
pero parang
bit.
Bang!
But beautiful. So if you guys want to watch it, go on HBO Go with your PLDT Home broadband. Alam nyo na yan. So you know what we're talking about, diba? Don't miss out.
You can stream the movie there. Oh, babe, go to tweet number 2.
Ito, sabi ni Miss Mela Habijan, "When we hashtag embrace equity, we dismantle privileges experienced by a few, democratize opportunities, and build a world for all."
Ang lupit naman nun. All caps pa siya.
Oo, mali pala yung pagkasabi ko ng tweet. Kailangan, when we... Just kidding.
No, that's, in all caps, diba? Yeah, that's why when I get like papers to all caps, parang pinapagalitan ka eh.
Oo,
minsan,
pag minessage kita ng gano'n, alam mo na.
Alam ko talaga.
Okay,
Hindi na ako
moving on.
nag-reply pag ganun.
Moving on to tweet number 3.
Yeah, and tweet number 3 is from Prof. Yemi Osinbajo.
Yeah.
Tama ba? But anyway, he says, "The other day I had the pleasure of being flown by Captain Blessing Liman, who shattered the glass ceiling in 2011, making history as the first female pilot in the Nigerian Air Force."
Wow, and we have a photo of her. She's so cute though. Parang just chilling
Sobrang
in
galing.
the cockpit.
Sobrang galing, di ba?
Yeah. Ang galing talaga. So now we move on to the most awaited part of the show. I know you are all excited. The part where we introduce the empowering woman who will be inspiring us today.
Kilala niyo ba? Diba? Speaking of women, why not give back to the women who have inspired you in your life? Empower your mom, your sisters, your titas with your dedicated secondary internet connection.
This is possible with PLDT Home My Own Wi-Fi. Just visit pldthome.com/myownwifi for more details.
So, i-reveal na ba natin
Eto
yung
na.
guest natin?
Yeah.
Diba? Ready na ba sila?
Yeah.
Gusto ko, meron ako yung parang
Dapat
sa Blue Bubble band. Ay, dude, bubble ako dati, diba?
Magda-drum tayo.
Also,
Pa-sample, ganon.
I can do like the cheers and stuff.
Really?
But anyway, our guest today has worn many hats in the media industry, from being an anchor and host to becoming a sportscaster, writer, producer, and a podcaster like us.
Wow!
Ang lupit. Ang dami-dami niyang hats.
I know. Her experience spans decades in both local and international media. And now she supports women by giving them a platform through her podcast, What? Glass Ceiling.
This episode, babe, is very, very special because we see how women are supporting women.
Yes.
Ready? Ready na ba?
Yes, very ready. Let's welcome host and broadcaster Lia Cruz.
Hello! Welcome to CONVOS at Home!
Hi!
How did you
Bea,
know?
hi, Jech. Oh, yeah. Wait, I heard you said you were Blue Bubble.
Yeah, for a
Seryoso
while.
ba yan? Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Dude, like not everything they tell you is a joke, okay?
So you have to do the cheers. I'm
She
sorry.
really is.
I'm
No,
sorry.
but I was in the
Was.
band.
Yeah.
But iba yung
But you know the
battalion.
cheers.
Yeah, but
Na-imagine nga yata yung medyo may...
oh,
nga
iba yun, iba yun. But tonight's all about you, no?
Okay.
Tsaka
I
Women's Month
deflected
eh.
it.
Di ba?
You have to know some things about your host.
I know. But sige, first things first, how is March or Women's Month treating you so far?
March is, I have to say, a very good month. Well, first of all, I get to guest on your show. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's shaping up to be a really busy month, which is good. It's a good problem to have. It's very busy, and it's a nice vibe that you get every March because a lot of people talk about International Women's Day and about the whole month being for women. So it's a nice vibe you get from all over the world because they talk about that. So March is great.
March is great.
Ano yung mga typical March activities mo?
Meron ba? May mga
For a work
Hindi,
ba?
yeah.
Baka may bakasyon,
Every
ganun.
March kasi ganito yung March ka. No, I'm not really sure. I mean, we've been doing the podcast for a couple of years now. So March is always a big month for us. We launched it on International Women's Day 2 years ago.
Wow.
I can't believe we've been around for 2 years.
Well, congrats.
Thank you. So that's also what we focus a lot on March and the anniversary of the podcast. And aside from that, it's like any other month. Family work.
Family work. Yeah.
Those sort of things.
Very busy si Lia. Oh my gosh, we are big fans.
Oh my.
Dude, ako, I told Lia earlier. And she,
Yeah.
parang she didn't believe, akala niya I was joking.
Everyone thinks you're just joking.
Dude, why?
Even your wife.
Why?
Diba? You understand why
very
now?
serious person right here.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, I was telling Leah that, you know, because we got introduced, hey, this is your guest, Leah. I was like, no, I know her. I'm a fan. Because she was the sportscaster or the newscaster when I was still in watching. When I was in
I hear yan.
Hindi, parang prep yata. No, I kid. No. But yeah, when I was watching all the Ateneo games, si Lia Cruz yung anchor, yung sportscaster doon. Yung courtside reporter pala.
Yes.
Hindi pala
Tama.
sportscaster.
So, ayun nga, on that note, could you tell us a little background or the history? How did you start in the media industry?
I think I would say that it all really took off from being courtside reporter in the UAP. The other year lang. No, several years back. It sort of took off from there. Although it's really my line. I studied communication in Ateneo, so I was really planning on getting into the media. Although I always thought I would write. And I was in high school. I was writing already for glossy magazines, and I always thought I would write. But I got into broadcasting, which is okay because I also have a theater background and then all these other performance. Yeah, I have a performance background. So I guess it's sort of a marriage of my being interested in communicating and being a performer of some sorts. Although I don't play any instrument, and I was never part of the
No, so is that why you were also asking like because Leah and I have the same major, diba? Com kami.
Com.
Yeah, but she was asking like nung time ko ba meron ng mga tracks. So parang yung sa inyo, you didn't have to like go through parang mga journalism.
No, you could. When I was studying at Ateneo,
Because you said you preferred to write, diba, at the start.
Yeah.
We could take whatever classes we
okay.
wanted. There was no
Okay.
such thing as a track. So it was interesting. I took some film classes because I was also interested in that, and the journalism classes, which I knew I would put into use somehow.
Ang galing. Parang nag-merge yung interests
In a way,
mo.
yes.
Galing.
In a way. So everything sort of took off from there, and one thing led to another, and I'm still in the media industry now, although the
Yeah.
pandemic sort of disrupted it. But you know, I mean, that's where everything started.
Cool. So, what about this industry? It is very male dominated, right? So, how is it being in that kind of setting? Merong bang super challenges dyan? Ganon.
I wouldn't say so much that it's one of those industries that's completely dominated by males. especially here in the Philippines, there are a lot of women bosses,
Okay.
a lot of women anchors. But of course, the Philippines is actually an exception to diversity and equality in terms of gender, because we're actually it's interesting because we're actually a matriarchal society in the Philippines. No, really. I mean, not just probably in your household, but there's every family has a matriarch here.
Actually,
It's true. It's our culture. And I was I was hosting a women's forum once, and an actual sociologist here, mentioned it in the forum that the Philippines is actually a matriarchal society. So I guess I'm coming from a perspective where I work in the Philippines, so I can say that. But in other countries, I'm sure it's also male dominated, and I would say the culture is very macho.
Okay.
Yeah, do you understand
gets
the way people treat each other, the way the boss treats the people under him or her, the subordinates. It's a very macho culture media. I wouldn't necessarily say it's patriarchal or matriarchal. I'm not so sure about that. I mean, don't take my word for it, but that's how I personally see it. But the culture is very macho. Yes, there are lots of challenges, but media, I think, is a different kind of animal, because it has a lot of challenges that are very unique, to it, which are not necessarily in favor of women.
Is there a particular challenge you encounter?
Well, women in media are objectified, obviously. I mean, because you're on TV, you're in the spotlight. So I mean, it's a reflex, I guess, of people to objectify whoever's there on the screen. So you're objectified. It's not exactly something that you enjoy or that you want that you want to experience. So that's a particular challenge, how to get past that and how to deal with that. I mean, you can be objectified because you're on screen. It could be like the audience who's doing it, or maybe even people you work with who are doing it, because that's how they treat objects. That's a challenge. But I think that's a well-known challenge of people in media everywhere.
Na-experience mo ba yun?
I mean, I suppose, right? Even like on TV, it could be through your social media even.
Yes, yeah.
Right? So it happens everywhere, I think.
So how do you guys deal with it?
I think
nag-space out ako ng content. How to deal with it?
I think the one way that people deal with it, I think the route that is usually chosen is to say, ganun talaga yun eh.
Right.
Things are like that, but it's not necessarily the only choice. I mean,
That's true.
we're living in a world that is post Me Too. So there are ways of dealing with those things now. But I mean, years ago, prior to the Me Too movement, prior to people being more outspoken about these things, you would just shrug your shoulders and then go your merry way and be like, ganun talaga yun. So I just won't make it pansin. Let's just not make it a bigger issue, or wag mo na ng patulan, or just wag mo nang kausapin, wag mo nang pansinin. But I think times are different now. Things are changing. So there's a way of dealing it now, which involves standing up for yourself. I mean, you have to do it the right way. You can't, of course, you don't want to make enemies. I don't want to say that. It's the truth.
Nagtatagalog.
Do you even know what that means?
Yan pala yung pinag-uusapan nila.
Or did you see that online and you copied it?
Of course, I saw it online. But yeah, diba? Parang what Lia is saying makes total sense.
Dapat may segment kayo, like Bea's Tagalog word.
No, dude.
Don't give them ideas.
No. Like, I heard that both of you guys are actually from Poveda. So it's probably like one of the best. Could we change the questions to Tagalog?
Sagutin ko. Kaya ko na ngayon eh. Nag-news na ako in Tagalog eh.
Wow. No, but yeah, that's very interesting. That's a very interesting perspective, diba? Kasi nga, actually, well,
Iba na
ako,
ngayon.
yeah.
It's
well,
different,
I don't think I've ever been objectified. So actually, hindi ko talaga alam, diba? Pero yun, yung parang, sige, pabayaan mo na lang yun, yung ganun.
It's default.
It's very common.
Yeah. I think it's something that even if that women even who are not from the media. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
every woman has experienced being objectified, whether it's in a positive light or a negative light.
In work settings, I know for a fact because like I've encountered, not because of any personal experience, but like yung mga the cases I go through, lots of like harassment for women
Yeah.
in workplaces. Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of workplaces, diba? So, how is it? Why do you think it's important for women to be represented in maybe male-dominated lines of work, or even if it's not, right? If it macho, diba?
yeah.
Parang sinabi mong description.
Why not? I mean,
tama.
there's no reason not to nowadays. I mean, you can probably come up with many different reasons, like years ago, why something shouldn't have happened.
Yes.
But there's no reason to not have a woman in a certain job or a certain industry or a certain field. There's no reason to not have a woman.
Amen, sister.
Yeah, it's just it doesn't make any
Women's
sense
month.
logically.
No, because like before, diba? In a lot of industries, I think it's the fear of getting pregnant. Eh. So yung parang the bosses or the people running the company, they wouldn't want like a woman figurehead or a woman calling the shots. Kasi once they get pregnant, mawawala sila for a
Yeah,
while.
yeah.
I think that was how it was explained to us before.
Oh, really? That was actually explained to you?
Yes.
Wow.
Wow.
Was that ever explained to you?
Well, no.
I mean, not anymore.
It's you know what? I have to mention, when I got pregnant with my first child, it was a surprise. We weren't planning for my daughter, but I was so afraid that I was going to lose a big project that I was
There you
about
go.
to start.
There.
And
Ganyan.
it's real. It's a real fear, even though a lot of companies now, I think, because I've never been a regular employee, but
Pareho kayo ni Bea.
Same.
Poveda.
but hoy, hindi naman ganun. Wala namang kinalaman yung sa maging regular
Gulo mo
employee.
baka magka-haters ka.
Okay lang.
Or kami. No, but it's a real concern. I mean, even if I
Yeah.
think a lot of companies have policies against these things now,
Meron talaga.
there's a lot of discrimination that can still happen. I mean, even if it's, you say it's under the table or the way they treat you, or it's meron talaga.
Because like now, even if we have laws na protecting that for discrimination,
O nga pala, lawyer to.
dude, like no one believes me. Okay, like I'm a sneakerhead lang daw kasi. So yeah, but those things sometimes it's not enough. Eh.
No.
I've encountered like you apply for maternity leave and the company's like it'll take it against you. Eh. Then apply ka for maternity leave.
Parang negative.
Yeah,
pa siya.
negative. Sometimes extend ka,
Yeah.
doon magkakaroon ng problema.
Yeah, or even like, I've heard stories where women are asked right out, or who are married, are you planning on having kids anytime
Yes.
soon? And then it's a point against them.
Yes.
It's a point against them. Yeah.
Really?
During hiring,
Yeah,
HR.
during hiring,
mga
HR
ganyan.
does that. It's the I don't understand why you can't have women in certain positions, because women have a lot of attributes that men don't have.
Agree naman,
And
agree.
yeah.
Kasi may mga favorite kong
I'm not attacking you.
Oh, yeah, it's okay. Hindi, pero sige, yung mga favorite kong groupmates kasi talaga women.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true.
Totoo,
Yeah,
totoo.
it's true. So if you have men and women, it's not that I'm saying men shouldn't be in these positions, but if you have
Wala
them
bang
both
men's
on the
month?
same team, then you have all these attributes that work together, and that
You guys complement
yeah,
each other
exactly,
basically.
Yeah.
Sakto. Very, ang kulit mo, wala nang men's month. Men don't need it. Okay.
Equality.
Diba?
Yeah, but we learned that Lia has a podcast called What Glass Ceiling? Diba?
May question mark
May
sa
question
dulo.
mark sa dulo.
What glass ceiling?
What glass? How should you say it?
What glass ceiling? Ganon. So, tell us about it. What inspired you to start this podcast?
First of all, it's called What Glass Ceiling with a question mark, because we question the glass ceiling.
Yan.
Yeah, na parang what glass ceiling?
Yes,
so
what?
that's so our whole point of using the glass ceiling in the title, because technically speaking, glass ceiling it's by definition a barrier of sorts. It's typically used in the corporate world.
Yep.
It's a barrier that, say, a minority has to break through to reach a new
Right.
height, to reach a new milestone. But it's used a lot in relation to women.
Right.
So we wanted to highlight that every day women face so many challenges, whether they're as simple as getting the to-do list done, or battling something socially or culturally, or something related to do with work, or whatever. Women face so many challenges, more so, in fact, and I'm sorry, that's just the way it is, more so than men, because of everything already pit against us or set against us. But every day we surpass so many of them. Even just to do the little things. So it's like, what glass ceiling?
Yeah.
That's what we wanted to highlight. And yes, that's our podcast. And what we do is we tell women's stories. So we talk to inspiring women, to women with interesting stories, and we just get to know their stories and the ceilings that they have all shattered in their lives.
Is there like a particular experience that you went through, or like you recall, that inspired you to start this podcast?
Ito na. No, I'm just
Ayun na.
this was actually a pandemic project. Me and my partner on the podcast, Steph. Her name is Steph. She's also from Ateneo Home, by the way. But we're not from the same batch. We entered the pandemic after having sort of lost our jobs in a way, and we weren't feeling great going into the pandemic, professionally, and also, dealing with all of the anxiety and the stress that the pandemic brought about. And we had previously worked together on a project in our previous company, and it was sort of related to telling women's stories. So in the middle of the pandemic, I was thinking, I had all this free time, thinking, what do I want to do next? And I was thinking, well, one thing I've always really wanted to do is do something for women, like telling women's stories. Not necessarily like move mountains for women. I don't think that highly of myself, but what do I have? And these are the tools at my disposal, and I can tell women's stories, and it's something I really want to do. So I contacted Steph out of the blue. I was like, Steph, do you want to brainstorm with me? I really think I want to talk to you about this. And from those super random Zoom brainstorming sessions, because it was during the pandemic, we thought about doing a podcast, What Glass Ceiling, to tell women's stories. And at first we wanted to hear stories about struggle.
Okay.
Like how they surpassed the struggles, how they got through it, and their personal struggles. And we needed to hear that also at that time. Na parang, you'll get through this
Because
difficult
you were
period.
in that period na
Yes,
parang
and
ang
I think
hirap,
we were
diba?
all in that
Yeah.
mindset at that time. It was a pandemic mindset. Na was this ever gonna end? Are we ever gonna see the light at the end of the
dude.
tunnel?
I remember parang before we got quarantined, parang my boss was telling me like, take a break. See you in 2 weeks. Enjoy mo na yung break na yan.
Oh my God.
Tapos parang yung 2 weeks again, 2 years,
2 years,
diba? Parang,
yeah.
whoa.
Yeah, so we were all in that mindset, and we needed to know that there was light at the end of the tunnel. So we wanted to hear these stories of struggle, that they surpassed it. We personally wanted to hear them. So that's what we asked for, and we asked all these inspiring figures, these inspiring women, for those stories. So that's how the podcast was born, actually.
Wow. And there's a broad range of stories, diba?
Yeah.
And the
Because there's a
women
broad
that
range
you
of people.
Yeah, and then the
Yes.
women that you also featured on the podcast, diba?
Yeah.
Why do you think it's important, now that we're past the pandemic, why do you think it's important to still tell these kinds of stories, like struggle?
Because there's someone struggling anytime, whether there's a pandemic or not. And these are stories that which is also why we did it in the first place. And the stories, as you mentioned, they're very varied. They're different. They're from a motley crew of characterizations, different stories, different women, and we tell the stories in the hope that someone who is going through something similar might hear it and might know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. So there's always someone going through something, and you pick up these bits and pieces from different people. So you could, hopefully they pick up the tidbits and the nuggets of wisdom that they need to get through whatever situation they're in.
Could you tell us which one is your favorite episode?
It's like picking a favorite child.
Oh no.
No, but there are so many, honestly, because I have to say, all the women we feature are amazing. They have incredible stories, and they have so many lessons to impart and things to tell, stories to tell. But
Isip tayo.
one story that really moved me was the story of Sabrina Onkiko. If you're familiar with her, she's a public school teacher. She does not need to be a public school teacher. She was on her way to being a doctor. She went to Ateneo. She went to a bunch of great schools, and she's very educated. And she has chosen to be a public school teacher for 13 years.
Wow.
Because she wants to be. She wants that opportunity to make a difference. And so you can already you can imagine the stories that she has na nakabaon na sa kanya. The stories of being a public school teacher with the public school system here, with the children. She has so many lessons. And you'd think that a public school teacher who has been at it for 13 years would sort of give up on the system and give up on shaping hopefully the future of the country. But she does not. She is this beacon of light, honestly. And I asked her why I mean, hindi ka pa napapagod? And
Yeah, because you mentioned she doesn't need to be.
she doesn't need to be. She doesn't need to be. She was supposed to be a doctor. And at the last minute, she felt like she was being called to be a public school teacher.
Wow.
So she gave up the career in medicine. She gave up the studying. She gave up medical school. And she decided to be a public school teacher, and she's still there. And nakakapagod eh. Like when you hear the stories of what she goes through every day, and when you're a teacher, you get attached to your students. So and a lot of these students have problems beyond the classroom. So she gets involved in them too. So it sounds exhausting, but she's still there persevering. It's an incredibly inspiring story. So that's one that really resonates with me. Although all the women have really, they're very inspiring, all of the others.
Wow. Hats off.
Is there like a common thread or like parang something in common with all the guests that you've had on the show?
Yeah, they're all inspiring, and they all have stories to tell. I mean, that's the common thread, really, that they have stories to tell, that they have hard-won lessons to share.
Wow.
Like we wouldn't put people on. We wouldn't pick a guest who didn't have a journey to share, because journeys they're difficult. And not the literal journeys. Although pwede din. Like trips can be difficult. but the figurative journey, it's very difficult to go through. And when you're there, you're trudging through and you don't know. But that's where your character is wrought. And that's where you pick up the lessons that shape you for the rest of your life.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Okay, now it is time for a little break from all these questions with a game that we call Retweet, Heart, or Reply.
And so, Lia, in this game, we'll show you a series of tweets, and you need to react with a retweet, a heart, or a reply.
Okay.
Right?
Para sa akin pala yung game. Okay,
Yeah, para sa'yo.
Okay, sige.
I mean, you're used to having the guest. Pero ikaw yung guest dito, di ba? Yan. So, if you choose reply, you just have to let us know what your reply tweet will be.
Okay, sige.
We want to know what you'll say. Okay, let's start with tweet number 1. Ito si Annie Kim Seng. First Filipina to finish the World Marathon Challenge. Congratulations. Congratulations, Julie Uychiat. Ayan. So, day 1, Antarctica. 4 minutes? 43 seconds? Fourth place siya. Okay, day 2, Africa, 3rd place. Day 3 in Australia, 2nd place. Ito, day 4 in Asia, first placer siya. Day 5 in Europe, 1st place. Day 6 in South America, 1st place din. And in day 7, North America, 1st place din siya. Grabe. Bigatin si Miss Julie. And we have a photo of her here holding the Philippine flag. Congratulations. So for this tweet, do we give this a retweet, heart, or reply?
I would retweet this because I actually read about this woman. She's in her 50s.
Wow.
And she started marathoning in her 50s.
Oh.
So I would retweet this.
So, babe, it's not too late.
It's not too late. It's not too late for me.
She doesn't like running.
I'm not a runner.
No.
I remember
Yeah, that's why you caught her. Kasi hindi siya tumakbo.
That was like, I remember, parang, she was parang one of our first dates, I told her, tara, parang random, di ko rin alam bakit. Sabi ko, tara, jog tayo. Sa field lang.
Nag-jog kami sa
Nag-jog
Ateneo
kami
field.
sa Ateneo. Tapos parang, sabi niya naman, sige. Nag-jog
It
kami.
was horrible.
But parang hindi ko rin maisip pati yung date namin. Pero nangyari siya. So lagi niya, every time she goes back to the stars, sabi niya, you know what? Yung mga first few dates natin, nag-jogging tayo.
Bakit?
Sobrang pangit experience. Ayan.
Okay, moving on. Ito ang next tweet natin.
Tweet number 2 by Lil Uzi Hurt. Whoa. What? I once had a job where every few weeks, a star reporter or editor would give a presentation about the biggest, can you say that on air? Of their career and how they overcame it. And I think more organizations should do this. Normalize learning from failure. Retweet, heart, or reply.
I would heart this. Because I agree. Normalize learning from failure. I agree. But I think this is a serious question.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
don't learn from failure?
No, I think what it's trying to say here is like, parang dapat okay lang.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Gets. Okay, heart.
Tingin
heart.
ko. Yeah,
Parang
kasi like,
big boss or star reporter, editor.
Yeah.
Kukwento nila where they screwed up or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, I guess in a way that is also inspiring because you see how they overcome.
Yes.
well, you know, because it's still a common culture in work environments, di ba? Na parang di ka pwede magkamali. Talagang
That's
best foot
true.
forward.
That's
when
true.
something happens, you feel like it's the end of your career.
Yeah.
But really, the idea should be,
That you learn.
and you have so much more to offer. You're more than that one incident. Eh.
Oh, Nux.
Di ba?
Okay. Tweet number 3. Galing kay Spartan. Wow. Everybody breathing came from a woman. Women are incredibly strong and are the ones that bind the gap of the ethereal and material.
Ang lupit
Deep
nito.
nun, ah.
Ang lupit nito. Parang filo in film
Oo
to.
nga. Carrying a baby for 9 months and delivering it through pain. Mothers are absolute heroes. I honor all moms. They should always be highly revered. Do we give this a retweet, a heart, or a reply?
I would heart it. I'm not a big replier on Twitter.
No, you should reply and say like, I agree.
I agree. Or like, the emoji with the hands up.
Yeah. Like,
Parang high five.
parang
ba
high
yun?
five.
Parang, there is an emoji like that. I'm not making it up, right?
Okay, next tweet.
Tweet number 4 from B. Sade. Bakit yung mga napupunta sa akin names are like,
Funky names, no?
yeah. Shout out to the women who are moving. To the women who are moving past, moving on, moving upward, moving into spaces that better serve them. Just moving. The women who understand that some motion is better than no motion at all. Keep going. I hope you have an amazing day.
I would retweet this with a reply and say Happy International Women's Month.
Yan, mic drop. High five.
So yung mic drop. Is there like who's your favorite
ito,
female
mic-
artist?
What do you mean?
Like
As in,
Women's Month. Who's
Women's
your
Month
naisip ko na sa mic. Sining
artist?
Yeah.
oh, snap! I don't
Meron?
know. Wala akong top of mind pa. Ikaw,
On the
Lia.
spot mo na naman.
Yeah.
Mahilig ka daw mag on the
always
spot.
a thing.
Yeah. How about you? Who's your favorite female
Female artist?
Yeah.
Artist?
Like musical
Yeah,
artist?
sure.
Baka
Musical
music.
artist.
Musical artist. Like I really need to pick just one?
Yeah. Favorite.
Like all time?
Favorite, yeah, for
I'm just
Women's
stalling
Month.
because I'm thinking. I think my all-time favorite women.
Yeah.
Well, because I would say Spice Girls. Just because that's my childhood.
See?
I actually expected you to say like Beyonce.
I was thinking it, but I
Yeah,
wasn't
she's
sure
like a
yet.
big
I
fan
love
of Beyonce.
Beyonce.
Can you dance like her?
Little girl looking like a lot. Yeah.
What? No, but like super women empowerment in
Yeah, right?
I'm just-
Celebrating the women.
Let's go to tweet number 5 from Candon Dorch. I love those moments when I realize that I'm handling a situation better than an older version of myself would have been able to. I love conversations with myself when I realize that self-work has been working. I love realizing that I'm growing. Lupit na mga tweet niya.
retweet
Selection
hard.
na to.
Hanap yung mga
to our crew, man. Saan niya nakuha ito today? Retweet, heart, or reply?
I would reply, preach.
Preach.
And then that emoji again. This is I love this actually. I love those moments when I realize that I'm handling a situation better than an older version of myself would have been able to. Because I actually have those moments. I'd be like, I've evolved.
Yeah.
Hindi na ako yung Lia Cruz of old. Ganun.
Well, I've never actually thought that. But more along the lines of I've evolved. So that's what I would think. I would reply, yeah.
Do you have those moments, babe?
Of course, of course. You know me, I like to meditate all the time. So now parang it's part of my routine. I'd be like, calm Bea now. Parang compared to pre-pandemic. Because honestly, pandemic, my anxiety went through the roof and I really had to figure out how to deal with things.
Yeah.
So parang dati, I just let all the stress get to me. And now, parang a little bump on the road, I kind of know what to do already. So yeah, iba talaga ang mindset ngayon.
Yeah.
And I find myself, yes, talking to myself. Yung nakita ko yung tweet conversations with myself. Yes, that happens. But it is nice to know that you're growing.
It's nice to know.
right?
It's great to know that you're growing.
Yeah.
Actually. It's a really nice
You're super
feeling.
growing talaga, babe. Like, you're more assertive now, actually. Before.
talaga ba?
Yeah, than before. I always tell her before, like, she's way too nice. like what you were saying at the start, yung, baya mo na yan.
Yeah,
Parang
yeah, yeah.
That's like old, Bea of old.
Bea of old.
Yeah, Hindi na siya ganyan ngayon. Hindi na siya ganyan ngayon. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, in fairness, I always tell, like, don't take other people's BS. Like,
That's
just
good.
do your
That's
thing,
good.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, ayan. So, thank you, Lia, for participating in our little game. Sana nag-enjoy ka doon.
Yes, I did.
Para tayo nag-Twitter online. Yeah, diba? So, okay, before we proceed with more questions, this is for all the moms who are listening and watching us right now. There is actually a community called Madiscarte Moms where women support other women.
Learn how to grow, start, and manage your online home business. Join Madiscarte Moms PH on Facebook and subscribe to Madiscarte Moms PH on YouTube.
Yan. So, okay, balik tayo
Balikan
sa
na natin
ating
si
mga
Lia.
questions.
Marami pa tayong dying, pressing questions.
Pressing questions. Okay, so let's get back to your podcast.
Okay.
With your impressive career in media. Did you see Lia's face on it?
Not like, well, to me it's
is.
impressive because
It truly
I've
is.
seen her for such a long time.
Oh my God.
I've been seeing her, like, on TV and everywhere else, diba?
Right? So, okay, with that career, how did that help you develop your podcast?
Well, to be honest, I've been doing this for a long time. And longer. I mean, there are those moments where you stop and then you think, yeah, marami na pala akong nagawa. Because but you don't think about that every day. So when it pops into your head, you're like, oh, okay. So I think every step of the way every stop that I took in media helped me develop the podcast as it is, because our podcast, well, we also help produce it. So everything I learned
Through your journey.
through my journey, helps us in putting it together. So it's really I think every stop you make in your life, it's sort of a culmination of all the skills you've previously gotten, you've previously taken from every other job you've had or role you've played. So, interviewing is something I learned while working in media, in sports and news, hosting, and producing it is also something I learned while working in news. Writing I've done for a long time. So all of these skill sets I call upon all of them to put
Just
the
like patch
podcast
them all to
together.
one.
Yes. So it's
Ang galing.
definitely helped. Also, I mean, as you go through your career, mas kumakapal din yung mukha mo eh. So parang, you know,
Ganun ba yun?
ganun talaga yun. So, you can ask.
Paano kumapal yung mukha mo?
Mas makapal yung makeup mo. Joke.
Ganun na siya.
you you have more courage to ask more difficult questions, which I think we've done in the podcast. We've asked difficult questions.
Speaking of like difficult questions, a while ago you mentioned your favorite episode, your favorite guest, Sabrina Onkiko. Is there any memorable story or anecdote aside from her, or like from her that you would want to share?
There are many, so many. One thing that I really, another episode that I really enjoyed was also interviewing is a Muslim. She's a Muslim woman, so we asked her to give us an inside look at what it's like to be a Muslim woman, because I'm obviously not a Muslim, so if you're from the outside looking in, you and you're an empowered woman, you think daming bawal, parang you can't. You're not empowered women in that religion. But it sort of drags you down. It brings you back like ages, and then these women are not empowered. So we talked to her about what is it like from your perspective, and how do you view yourselves?
That's an interesting
It was
episode.
super interesting.
Wow.
So it
What did
was
she
so
say?
nice. So our guest's name, her name is Jai Haji Sapiin, and we asked her for particulars, like specifics, like why would you say you're an empowered woman? And she explained that in her opinion, of course I won't give away everything that she said, but she, in her opinion, she's empowered because being a Muslim does not prevent her from doing this and this and this. Islam does not prevent women from doing this and this. And then I asked her, like, how does it work inside your household? How does it work in your religion? So these are, and I asked her, how do you feel when people outside Islam say that you're not empowered because of the way it's viewed by the rest of the world? So it was a very interesting conversation. That was last season, but there's so many. There's so many episodes, because each episode is like this minefield of wisdom. So that's one thing I remember. We also have we just released an episode with Merly Jaime. She's this advertising industry rock star, and then she explained what it's like, what it was like for her in the advertising industry, how much she had to sacrifice, and especially since she was bringing up her own kids also, and she also gave us an inside look at how advertising, at how it works. So we have this totally varied lineup of guests. So many really. You have to check it out. There's just so many.
Yeah.
You've interviewed, sounds like you've interviewed a lot of amazing women, right? Meron ka bang parang dream na ma-interview?
Yeah, dream guest.
Dream guest?
Yes.
Na mas amazing pa siguro.
Wow.
Well, she's been on our bucket list for a long time. We'd love to talk to Maria Ressa. We'd love to talk to Gaita Forest also. There's a long list, really, but I've said that before, that I'd love to talk to at least those two women. And
What would you talk about with those two women?
well, they both have incredible stories. Like, Maria Ressa. You just say Maria Ressa, and you all think of all these issues. I'd love to see where she is, how she's doing now. Of course, we'd have to angle it in a different way. I'd love to talk to Michelle Yeoh or Dolly De Leon. So I'm just manifesting that for this season.
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
And
Hindi ako, parang interesting. Get Maria Ressa on the show, man.
yeah,
Like,
she's on.
hindi. I was following also the legal battle
Yeah.
Diba? So parang I'm sure marami siyang
Yeah, I'd love to.
mapakontribute.
We're trying. She's a very busy person.
Yeah. Well, you have two beautiful daughters, diba? Claire and Tally. What advice would you want to share with them after you've picked up from so many from your podcast?
As a mother, I'm sure other moms would agree. There's just so many things you want to tell your kids. But specifically lessons that I've learned from the podcast that have stayed with me for up to now. I would tell them to take life in seasons.
Ooh.
Parang maganda yun, eh.
Yeah, life is made up of different seasons, and just because you're not, I mean, the season that you're in is not your favorite, it's still a season that you have to go through, and you have to remember that it will end and you will begin another season. So it's just like a book, different chapters of your life, and that's how it's meant to be lived also.
That's kind of your mindset right now, diba?
Yeah.
That's so deep. I like it.
That was actually from our very first episode with Nikki Hill.
Wow.
She said that. She was like, life is that's her philosophy in life right now. That it's different seasons. So that's how she approaches her life.
Beautiful.
Is there a particular season you're in now, babe?
I'm in an okay season.
Okay season lang? Okay lang?
Okay naman.
Di ba dapat lahat ng
PN.
season nakasama mo ko?
Ay.
Okay.
Okay. Summer.
Sige,
ganun.
alis na ako, guys.
Yeah. Well, anyway, ikaw talaga biglang may ganon. So a lot of people, they are aspiring. I'm sure that you inspire them. They want to be like you. Do you have any advice to those who want to, pursue the same path in media or,
I actually I gave a workshop a few weeks ago about hosting.
Ayan.
And I told them one attribute that you have to have, which I think that you have to have if you want to get into this, is which I've already said earlier, is kailangan makapal talaga mukha mo. But it's
Hindi lang
true.
yung makeup.
Hindi lang yung makeup. In fact, better kung hindi. Better kung hindi yung makeup. Is kailangan talaga makapal mukha mo. And it gets you, like for example, if you see the door is a teeny bit ajar. You see it. It's open a little bit. Kung makapal mukha mo, papasok ka di ba?
Tama.
So and then it can open other doors. And I just have to share. That I said this just a few days ago because I hosted something for the Philippine Army.
Wow.
And yeah, it was very surreal for me. And then
What was it about?
it was a conference for their senior leaders. So it was literally a conference for the generals and the other high-ranking officers.
Okay.
So when I was being briefed for it and I was being taught the protocol, a lot of the staff, they were telling me, don't get intimidated, okay? Because it's a room full of generals and other high-ranking officers.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, buti na lang makapal mukha ko.
Yeah.
But that's just it. Because if you want to get into this industry, in more ways than one, kailangan makapal mukha mo. Because first of all, you need to have the guts to actually venture into it. Because it's not easy, and you need your wits about, and you need courage, and all the and bravery and all these things to put yourself out there. And at the same time, you will get a lot of. You will face a lot of situations that might be hurtful. You get a lot of rejection all the time. And kung makapal mukha mo, edi okay, di ba? Hindi masyadong masakit.
Or like when they're non-responsive, no?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So you tell me about those experiences
Yeah.
also,
Yeah,
right?
it happens to everyone. It happens. And it's constant. It never ends. So, kailangan lang talagang makapal mukha mo.
Agree. Makapal din mukha ko minsan.
Minsan lang ba?
Minsan lang.
Yeah, so I know I've been asking all night about, like a lot of guests on your podcast, your previous guests, the guests that you would want to have. But if yung old self mo yung maging guest mo sa podcast mo, the Lia of old.
The young Lia, ganun. The younger.
She's still
Super-
young.
Super young. Like,
Youngin.
Youngin.
Lia. Yeah. Is there... What?
What is happening to our question?
Everything, everywhere, all at once. Diba? Is there any particular question you would ask your younger self?
I would not have my younger self on the podcast because wala pa yang alam. Wala pang mga sagot yan eh. Like, I wouldn't have her on it because she at that point, wala pa siyang mga experiences that would give her the insight into answering the question. So I would not have her on.
Wala
like,
pa
I would
siyang
reject her
journey.
as a guest. Like the Lia of old. Wag na.
Aray naman. Rejected si young Lia.
Sabi ko, daming rejection in this industry, di ba?
Kulang pa siya ng ano.
Rineject ko sarili.
Para matutunan niya maaga pa lang, ganon.
Kulang pa siya ng journey.
Yeah. Okay, so the theme of this
Interesting,
year's International Women's Day and Women's Month is actually embrace equity. So, in your opinion, why isn't it enough now we have equal opportunities for women?
It's like that. It's the comparison of equality and equity, which if I remember correctly, the textbook definition is equality. It's sort of the analogy is like equality. Everyone has the same opportunity, so it's like a piece of steak. Steak talaga. Steak. A piece of steak, and everyone gets.
Yung pagka-atomista mo lumalabas, ha? You're giving us all a bad
Sige,
name,
sorry
man.
ha. Okay.
Apples,
Ganito na
apples.
lang. It's like, no, never mind. Baka mas ma-offend pa sila.
Apples na lang.
Apples.
Apples
Okay.
na lang.
Okay.
Apples.
I don't
O
know.
sige, ano? What did you have in mind? What's the
Cake na lang,
Cake.
cake.
Ay, okay.
Okay.
We like
Cake.
cake.
So it's like
Pwede.
everyone has the exact size of their slice of cake.
Yeah.
Okay.
But equity, it's mas gutom siya, mas malaking slice niya kaysa sa ibang mga the others who aren't as hungry. So that's the analogy. The ones who need it more get a bigger piece of pie.
Yeah.
And it's not enough to have only equal opportunities, because in this world, it automatically treats women as second-class citizens. So with that effect, in that, women need a bigger piece of pie. Women need a bigger boost
Yeah.
up. I mean, they need more. We need more support. We need more help in order to make sure that everyone gets a piece of the pie.
Tama.
Yeah.
Because
So-
there's a handicap, diba?
Yes, exactly, exactly.
But do you think, though, that, society, at least Philippine society, has progressed in terms of, treating women in the way you envision also?
Like I mentioned earlier, Philippine society is actually better about it than other countries, because so it's actually easier for us here in a way. But that doesn't mean that it's easy. That doesn't mean that it's easy. So it might be a little bit better for us here because of the fact that we're a matriarchal society. But that doesn't mean that you go down and walk down the street and you still won't be treated with disrespect. Like you still won't get the catcalls. You still won't be disrespected. Or if you get up in the middle of a meeting, that doesn't mean that that you'll be treated ideally, I guess, and in the way that we want to be. We're not yet at that point, but it's a little easier, I think, for us. But I don't think we've reached that point yet.
Yeah. Not quite.
Not quite.
No.
yeah.
But we are moving.
Yes, by leaps and bounds, I think. Especially this generation. This generation is very woke, to be honest.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of there's
Super woke. Kasi randomly, I just remembered now, when I was moving from my firm and I was going in-house, like, I remember I would get asked by yung mga female bosses when they interview me for work. And they'd really ask me like, okay lang ba sa'yo na yung boss mo ako, babae ako? Then parang before, I didn't understand the question. Parang, why are you asking me that? Hindi ba dapat the answer is yes? Until you reach the work environment and it's different. Parang these, like my bosses, they're all amazing, they're women, but some of them still move around like they have chips on their shoulders.
Yeah. Because I guess that's what they're used to. But the young ones now are the conversation is very much alive and open for them.
Anyway, as we land this episode, let's end it with a really cool question. Why is it important for women to support other women?
Well, we're all in the same boat. I mean, you might as well lend your support. I mean, if you don't help the other people in the same boat, then what's gonna happen to the boat, right?
Diba?
I mean, what's gonna happen to if you're a woman and you don't support other women? I mean, what does that say about you? What is that? I mean, what does that paint for your future?
Right?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. So there's no point in being catty and trying to pull other women down, which I think it's something that happens a lot.
happens.
It happens a lot.
I think it happens more
With
among women
Yes.
than
right?
men. Because like, parang, women can be so competitive towards other women.
Yes, and I
That's
think
true.
that's like conditioning.
Yeah.
It's like how other women have been conditioned, because other women have not been conditioned, somehow to support other women.
nga.
So may complex na parang kung ako nandito ako, edi hindi ka pwedeng umangat. Dito ka
That's
kasama.
so strange because she would tell me her experiences about those things, and I'd be like, that's weird because like even parang me towards another, like let's say another guy, she'd be like, bro, ganito lang oh. Parang ganyan.
Yeah. I think
Sure.
it's I think it's also being conditioned. I mean, the odds are stacked against you. So
some people would try to get ahead,
that's one thing. And also because I think culturally, I think society as a whole sort of looks down at women who are, historically, society as a whole looks down at women who are finding their way and climbing up. So that, I mean, you're like internally conditioned to, even if you're a woman yourself, look at another woman na, maasenso na, parang,
I'd get that
Why
vibe.
is
And
that a thing?
Yeah.
Like sometimes she'd tell me like she'd go to like, it's like events or whatever. And she'd be like, parang this other woman doesn't like me.
Oo, diba?
Yeah, maybe I think it's a complex that has been conditioned, has been ingrained in us because of, society.
Yeah. But
Honestly.
diba now, empowered women will
support
empower
other
women.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
you should tell all these other women having
Yeah.
that,
I think it's really a mindset.
that
It's a
weird mindset to like stop it.
Yeah.
It's a mindset.
We should throw that away.
Yeah.
Why is that there?
In our first episode this season of What Glass Ceiling, Merly Jaime was talking about how it's so difficult for ambitious women because it comes with such a negative connotation. And she was saying that people don't like ambitious women. And in Tagalog, it's even worse because they use such a derogatory term, ambisyosa. Right? I mean, diba?
Thanks, Leah, for translating for my wife.
It's used in such a negative way when in fact it should be celebrated as it is in men. So I think also it relates to like women supporting other women.
Yeah.
Parang it culturally we're all trained to think of that, to think of the other woman who's succeeding in life as ambitiosa.
Like it's a bad
like it's a
thing, no?
bad thing.
Daming feelings.
Dami ko feelings.
No, it's like,
Share some more, babe.
no, don't spill the tea right here, right? No, but seriously, like, just like, random lang, parang like, she'd go to events, she'd be like, parang ganyan, parang I didn't get a good vibe from her. It's parang ako naman, I just accompany her, cause like, I'm her PA eh. Diba? I take her pictures and whatever, and then but like, I'll just be friends with all the dudes there whom I met for the first time,
Yeah.
and parang, like, we've been friends for a long time na. Parang iba yung minsan yung vibe.
Yeah. Someday, babe, magiging ganyan din kami ng mga girls, no?
Women empowering other women.
Yes.
We will.
It's
So,
true.
all right, as we close this episode, we're going to move to our quote tweet of the day.
Yes!
If you were to
Ready ka na?
tweet a quote, phrase, or thought that you picked up from our conversation today,
Oh my.
what would it be or why? Kahit ano lang yan. Phrase, quote, thought.
Si Lia una.
Alia
Wait
muna.
lang. No, I'm the guest.
Ako yung huli.
Meron bang
I don't know how to do it. You have to teach
Parang
me.
wala yatang rules na na inimpose
gusto ko yung
tayong ganyan. Ay,
Gusto
ganyan
ko
ba?
yung
This is
sinet
our
niya.
9th episode and then there are no rules. Oh, sige. Babe, you want to do the honors since Women's Month, empowered women?
Ba't ganun?
Oh.
Okay, a phrase. Gusto ko halik inu.
Okay, ganun lang. Anything like that.
Pero
Okay.
pati seryoso, no?
Okay, sige.
Yeah, and this is why
record
I always like make fun of her at this segment because like she
may
just
totoo akong
says all the
answer.
random stuff. What's your answer?
I have a
Better
real
pull a
answer
bit.
now.
Oh, why were you like
Okay.
pulling my hands?
Para makinig ka sa
on the
akin.
spot ka.
Gusto ko yung sinabi din ni Lia kanina, yung reason why is your face like that?
I'm just waiting. I'm very curious.
Lia, did you see his face?
I think he was born that way. Wala kaya ka siya
He's making fun of my answer. Wala pa ako
I am
sinasabi.
not.
Ito, so yung sabi ni Lia kanina, gusto ko yung sinabi niya na parang the reason why she has her podcast and these stories is because somewhere out there, there's always someone struggling, diba? And I think that's something we have to
Zoom in.
remember and keep in mind, take to heart.
Wow.
Grabe sila.
Wow.
Anyway.
Meron ka magandang quote of the day today.
Hindi
Sige,
lang siya
sige.
halikinu today.
Yeah. Okay, sige.
Okay. Ikaw naman.
I like yung life, ano ba yun? I forget so much. Life has its seasons.
Life should be taken in seasons.
There you go. Life should be taken in seasons. And that resonates with me because sometimes I forget. I guess when I'm in a bad season or when I'm in a season where I think I should be performing more than I should be performing more. Parang, sige, okay lang yan. Diba? Minsan nakakalimutan ko. But did you see Lia's face?
Why? What was Lia's face?
Mukha ko.
She's making fun of me. She was making the face that I made when you were giving your quote tweet.
Karma yan. Karma
She
yung
was like-
tawag dyan.
No, that means I understand.
Okay. Grabe. Sige. Okay, mabalik na sa akin yung mga ginagawa ko.
Okay.
Okay, balik na tayo kay Lia.
Okay. Halikinu. No, something that I can't quote it exactly,
Yeah.
but I remember what you said about Bea that she doesn't feel the support of other women sometimes, and I think it's really something that we have to work on. I don't remember the exact words, so it can't be an exact quote.
That's
but-
perfectly fine. But yeah, the idea, no?
Yeah.
So, yes, okay. Thank you so much. That was a good answer, Lia. Diba?
It better have been because she had like such a long time to think about it.
Grabe ka naman. Parang 3 oras. Hindi naman.
Gusto ko yung binubuli niya na rin yung ibang guest natin.
Yeah,
diba?
well,
Hindi
you know.
lang ako ngayon. Anyway, thank you so much, Lia, for being with us today.
Thank you for sharing us your story, but not just your story, the story of, some of the amazing women that you had on your podcast.
Yan.
I'm sure everyone would love to hear about them some more. So, where can they catch the podcast?
Oh, well, first of all, thank you for having me. You can catch What Glass Ceiling on, we can find us on Spotify. Just search for What Glass Ceiling with a question mark.
With the question mark. Don't forget. Because paano siya sinasabi ulit?
What Glass Ceiling? So you can search for us on Spotify or whatever podcast platform you prefer. So you can find us there, or you can also find us on social media. So What Glass Ceiling is on Instagram. It's WGC Pod, or you can follow me. It's Lia Cruz on social media. Just search for me.
Yeah, kasi I'm sure, di ba? Parang may mga mas interested din hanapin nasan si Lia.
Oo.
Diba? Ako yung mga friends ko, pag sinabi ko, uy, interview namin si Lia Cruz. No, kasi she was, I keep on telling you.
I know.
At first I was kind of,
Can you see my face though?
she was like courtside reporter. When I was,
Kopong.
She doesn't know what that means.
I know what that means, but if you wanna find me on Instagram, I do know how to speak Filipino. You can look for me at Bea _ Benedicto.
Tagalogin mo yung ano mo yan.
Kung gusto niyo ako hanapin sa social media, marunong naman po ako mag-Filipino. Hanapin niyo lang po ang at Bea _ Benedicto.
Ano yung social media in Filipino?
Social.
No! Social is not social.
Ang pula na ng mukha ko.
Social is panlipunan, di ba?
Panlipunang media.
Yeah, media, I don't know what. Actually, I
Ganun ba
don't know
yung
what media is
Filipino
also.
niyan?
But anyway, yeah, you can find my wife, Bea _ Benedicto, across all social media platforms. You can find me, Jech, no _ across all social media platforms.
Yay! So
That
look for
wraps
us.
up our episode.
For more internet things. O ganito, Lia, yung internet things.
I see. Do I have to do that?
Yeah.
Yes. Yan! For more internet things and latest updates on trends, follow PLDT Home on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.
Again, for all the moms listening out there, Join Madiscarte Moms PH on Facebook and subscribe to Madiscarte Moms PH on YouTube. It's a place where you can see how PLDT Home is supporting women entrepreneurs nationwide.
This is also where you can learn how to start, grow, and manage your online home business. So join in and be a part of the community that is 150,000 strong.
Parang game show na yun, ano?
Oo, kaya ko yung game show host. So yes, this has been Convos at Home by PLDT Home.
A space for conversations best shared at home.
Catch you guys next time.
Bye!